Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, December 15th, 2022. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see where we have a cold front affecting portions of the eastern United States, and we also have a cold front right there across portions of the northern portions of the North Atlantic, stretching all the way down to the middle of the North Atlantic right there to the north of the northeastern Caribbean. And if we actually take a look at the satellite images, again we can see those clouds associated with that cold front that's affecting portions of the eastern United States down all the way into Florida, with clouds and showers and thunderstorms. And we can see the clouds associated with that cold front right there to the north, the far north of the northeastern Caribbean. We'll talk some more about those features later. Let's jump into what happened in Jamaica for today. But before we even do that, let me refresh our viewers' memory. Whenever you guys hear us say, oh, eastern parishes, central parishes, western parishes, these are what we're talking about. So we know that the eastern parishes refer to those in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, Kingston. Central parishes, which include those parishes that are in the county of Middlesex, so St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, while in the county of Cornwall, we have St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. Also, when we refer to northern parishes, we know that we're referring to those parishes at the top part of Jamaica, the north part. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. While on the south coast, you know that we're referring to St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And you know we have the various parish capitals or towns that each of those parishes contain. Alright, so let us take a look at the satellite images across Jamaica for today, Thursday, December 15. So let's reload the images so that I have the latest images to show. So for the most part, we can see where we had a mainly partly cloudy day across the island. We didn't have much to report, which makes sense that our workers here with the Jamaica barely even made a post for the last couple of days about the precipitation forecast, because there was nothing to report, nothing to show, because the models were in disagreement. So whenever there is hardly ever a post made by Weather Jamaica, that's usually the effect. We don't have videos on the YouTube channel either. So as stated, a partly cloudy day with that brisk easterly wind and some partly cloudy skies coming into portions of eastern Jamaica. Maybe one and two isolated showers across portions of inland areas, or maybe even portions of northern or eastern Jamaica. Doppler radar images for this evening showed hardly anything across the island as well. And if we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, we can see where we barely had any form of rainfall. The key at the bottom of the map shows the rainfall in millimeters, so we can see where we had anywhere from 1 to 5 millimeters across portions of inland areas of central and eastern parishes, and maybe even right there off the northern tip of St. Mary. Alright, so let us take a look at the temperature across the island for this evening. You can see where we have a 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston for this evening, 26 for Morant Bay, 24 for Ocho Rios, 24 for Montego Bay. As usual, the 20 degrees Celsius in Mandeville, 22 degrees Celsius in Linstead. So it is not that drastic as what we were receiving for the past couple of weeks. The temperatures have risen back up. It is Thursday now, and as predicted from our last video, we stated that we would have more warm temperatures returning. So look, we don't have that much blue that we once had across the Caribbean. It's 18Z on Thursday. Alright, so if we actually look, it's actually getting even, red, orange or redder as we progress into Friday and Saturday. So all of those blues associated with those cold fronts, we're not getting them anymore. We don't have that brisk northeasterly flow coming in to bring any form of rainfall or relief rainfall to portions of northern Jamaica. We're back to our usual easterly flow. And if we actually take a look at the GFS model, both of them are in agreement. Both the Euro and the GFS model are in agreement that our warm temperatures are back, and they seem to be here to stay. So we're only showing up to the next 120 hours, the next 5 days, just like what the US National Hurricane Center would do. So we're not going any further than that. This goes all the way up to Tuesday, December 20th. So more warm temperatures to receive. I know many persons are going to miss those cooler than average temperatures that we've been receiving for the past couple of weeks. But as you know, we are in the tropics, so we're gonna be getting our warm temperatures back as usual. Let's talk about the wind forecast for tomorrow. This is showing 12Z on Friday. This is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we're seeing that we have more of an easterly flow across both the north and the south coast on the Euro and on the GFS. But where does all that air pile up? It piles up in the inland areas of central and western parishes. So if there was supposed to be afternoon convection, even although the afternoon thunderstorm season across the Caribbean is wrapping up, considering that the dry season is starting, if we would have afternoon convection, it would be taking place across portions of inland areas of the island. So inland areas of, let's say, St. Anne, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Trelawney, Mandeville, St. Elizabeth, St. James, maybe even majority of Westmoreland getting in on some of that rainfall. And what usually happens when we get convection in the central portion of the island, wherever the air piles up, wherever we have less wind. So if we actually take a look at the wind forecast, we see 10 to 20 knots across the island for tomorrow. But look at the blues. The blues represent less wind, and when we usually have that less wind in that area, wherever the air piles up, that's where we have the most buildup of clouds and the afternoon convection. And what usually comes with the afternoon convection is the high cold cloud tops that are blown off by the wind shear. And if we actually take a look at the wind shear map for 0Z Saturday, when we calculate that, that's about 7 p.m. on Friday. You can see where we have some westerly wind shear, so all that strong wind up in the upper levels of the atmosphere coming in from the west. And if we actually take a look at the GFS, both models are in consensus to give us some westerly winds tomorrow 7 p.m. well, majority of the day for tomorrow. So if there's any afternoon convection that should develop, it would be blowing off towards the east to bring overcast skies to eastern parishes. Either way, the low level wind forecast is coming from the east, so if we're gonna be having some rain, it could be, coming in off the sea into portions of St. Thomas or Portland. And when it comes to the central and western areas, it could be some afternoon convection. So when we take a look at the precipitation forecast map, we can see where some rainfall is in the forecast. 5 a.m. we can see some spots of blues across portions of Portland and St. Thomas. 5 a.m. tomorrow. And if we actually take a look at the GFS, we actually have consensus. Both models are showing some form of blue across portions of eastern Jamaica. Not to mention during the afternoon hours, look at this, 4 p.m. on Friday. We see some blues across portions of western, central, and eastern Jamaica on the Euro model. And the GFS model is showing something similar as well. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much greater. If we actually take a look at the precipitation, accumulated precipitation forecast, this is all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. This says 3Z on Saturday, but it's actually 10 p.m. on Friday. So we can see where the accumulated rainfall actually captures the eastern portion of the island for the morning, as well as sections of, let's say, central and western Jamaica for the afternoon. So anywhere from 0.5 to 0.1 inches is forecast on the Euro. The GFS is a bit more robust with the rainfall. Yes, the same areas, eastern, central, and western Jamaica, but the amount of rainfall is a bit more, especially along the far south coast. So getting all the way up from anywhere from 0.05 inches to, let's say, 0.25 inches of rainfall. Alright, so that's it for the forecast for the weather across Jamaica. Let's talk about the Caribbean. So we made mention of that cold front across portions of the eastern United States, as well as that cold front in the North Atlantic, as well as a trough right here to the northeastern, to the northeast of the Caribbean as well. And we actually have those clouds that signal that. So the clouds associated with that cold front across portions of the eastern United States, clouds associated with the second cold front right there. Look at all this cloud east of South America. All of that is associated with the ITCZ, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, where all that air from the North Atlantic meets the air from the Southern Atlantic, and it forms clouds. Lots of convergence taking place right there. We also have some clouds affecting portions of Panama, Colombia, as well as Costa Rica right there. We actually have some clouds with that brisk easterly flow coming into that cold front, coming into portions of Cuba as well. If we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we can see where all of that rainfall associated with that cold front affecting portions of Florida right now. So Jamaicans in Florida must be on alert at this time. It's Thursday evening, so they know that there's some form of weather in the forecast, some severe weather, whatever the case may be, whatever their weather service is forecasting, they know and they're feeling it or about to feel it, especially in eastern portions of Florida. We can also see some rainfall to the north of the ABC Islands. If we actually take a look back at the satellite images, we can see those clouds associated with that rainfall. So we know satellite images show the clouds, that we can have cloud cover in an area but no rain, while the Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall. So nothing to report across portions of Belize or Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras or Nicaragua. Nothing at all. If you actually take a look at portions of the eastern Caribbean, we can see some spots of clouds, some rainfall, not spots of clouds. Some isolated rainfall, but nothing drastic is being shown right there. So portions of Dominica, Martinique, they're missing out on the rainfall at this time. Maybe some portions of Barbados getting in on some of the rainfall right now. Guyana, Suriname probably getting in on some rainfall as well. Alright, so if we actually take a look at the temperature map back again, so we're looking at tomorrow. So for Friday, yes, majority of the Caribbean getting back in those warm temperature ranges. So no more below average temperatures, no more blues that signify below average temperatures. So it's not drastic below average temperatures that we were experiencing, but we would have felt them, especially in the evening hours, the nighttime hours, or the early morning hours. Right now we're back into the the normal tropics kind of temperature range up until further notice. Let's talk about the amount of dry air that we have across the Atlantic. Look at all of this. This is the map that we usually show when we're talking about Saharan dust, but it's not Saharan dust right now. It's a lot of dry air. Usually the winters, because we're about to step into winter around the 21st of this month. That's next week. And we have a lot of dry air to talk about, and we know that dry air is what prohibits all of the the wet weather and the rainfall and the tropical development. We have a lot of it, especially across portions of the Greater Antilles in all of that, right? So portions of the Bahamas, Cuba, Hispaniola, even portions of Jamaica getting in on some of the dry air as well. Let's talk about the wind forecast across the Caribbean. We can see a lot of easterly wind coming in across the Caribbean around that area of high pressure. We could just draw one big capital H right here to signal where the high pressure is located. Know that high pressure sends wind all the way around in a clockwise fashion. So we have westerly winds on the northern portion of that high pressure, and we have easterly wind on the southern portion of that high pressure. Sending all of that windy weather across the Caribbean. Lots of strong winds across portions of northern Colombia as well as the ABC Islands right there, anywhere from 20 to 30 knots as usual. And if we actually take a look at the GFS, both maps are showing something similar, and we know that when we have consensus like this is what exactly takes place. Let's talk about the precipitation forecast across the Caribbean for tomorrow. So we can see where from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday, we are going to be having some rainfall across portions of the northwestern tip of Cuba associated with that cold front, maybe even portions of Florida still getting in on some of that rainfall. Look at the Caribbean. Let's dip down, looking southward. So, yes, we're having some amount of rainfall, but it is not that drastic across portions of the Greater Antilles. Cuba and Hispaniola seem to be getting a break. Not so much for Jamaica or Puerto Rico. Might be getting in on some of that rainfall. Maybe some isolated rainfall across portions of the northeastern Caribbean as well. So, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's. But look right there, across portions of Dominica, we have some yellows in there, so maybe some rainfall right there. Maybe even portions of St. Lucia as well. Even the ABC Islands looking to be receiving some form of rainfall tomorrow. Look at all of that rainfall, anywhere from 0.1 up to, let's say, up to 0.5 inches of rainfall. And as usual, portions of Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama getting in on some amount of rainfall. A lot of rainfall at that. So anywhere from, let's say, 0.2 up to an inch of rainfall for portions of Central America. And if we actually take a look at the GFS model, we can see where there's consensus. So Central America, the same thing as the Euro. Portions of Trinidad, however, getting in on some rainfall on the GFS. That's not what was forecast on the Euro. Euro has less amount of rainfall, but the GFS is showing more rainfall. Yes, portions of Dominica getting in on the rainfall on both maps, but look, it's starting to incorporate portions of Guadeloupe on the GFS and Martinique as well. So we shall see which one of them wins. Will it be the GFS? Will it be the Euro model? Either way, let's watch what happens to see. Usually when we have consensus, we know that the chances are higher, but when there's disagreement, the chances are lower. So it's just a waiting game from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. Alright, so that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. Take care.